Now we live.
All right, just being honest, connecting with the black experience. Your guy, the most disliked popular guy, Barry Axius, and the queen of Queens, Mama Ro. Looking stunning as usual.
Thank you. I try. When I'm rocking with the most unpopular guy.
Yeah, you know most disliked popular guy. You know, but I'm popular.
But you popular.
Yeah,
though.
But we know 8:30. Y'all bear with us. We were just in the midst of watching something that, in reality, is historic, because the officer in the Dallas shooting of the brother in his own apartment, she was found guilty. So was looking at that verdict piece and talking about it before, because we thought that we were going to have a show based around some of the particular items that have come out, the Castle Doctrine thing, which was kind of like a stand your ground, how the black judge, what's her name, Tammy Kemp, it seemed like she was swaying towards the defense, and the fact that murder is so hard to prove, right? It was actually proven. And murder is hard to prove in common folk, but proving murder with police officers, right, is even harder. And some of my people in Texas have told me, in the Dallas area, that it's intense, right? That shit may hit the fan. And let's also go back to Dallas. Allegedly, remember, those is where some of those police officers supposedly, and I say that very sarcastically, supposedly had got ambushed by this random shooter. Remember that time?
I remember that.
And that kind of moved into that whole rhetoric of police lives matter, you know, so kind of spawned the Blue Lives Matter jargon. And this has been a very racial, very, very, very racial influenced, I feel, case. And the fact that we had black jurors more than we usually have in other cases that's dealing with police officers, black judge, I mean, shit, the whole damn courtroom seemed like it was black. And you had a white woman that throughout the whole process was shedding down white tears. And it seems like to no avail. To no avail. It seems like the right thing was done in Dallas. I'm not going to give any real kudos to a system because they got one right. I'm not going to be, oh yeah, and I'm not going to say finally. I just, all right. Now, proceeding on. What will now be her judgment as she's found guilty? Let me be correct. Found guilty of murder. One of the headlines is found guilty of murdering the death of her neighbor. So the reality is
that was her neighbor.
That was her neighbor. Remember, that's why she allegedly walked into the wrong apartment. A lot of folks think that they were lovers. A lot of folks think there was a whole bunch of other things. It is found to say that she was sexting. Like most of us do.
And walked into the wrong place.
And walked into the wrong place. You know,
ooh, baby, I want you. Bam!
Yeah, exactly.
Shit.
And the case itself, it seemed like it was derailing to a place where, again, the people would have heard not guilty, and our anger and our frustrations would have probably spilled to the streets. But I believe that what was done was appropriate. I would have loved to see the reaction if it was done the other way, because I don't want black people to get comfortable and say, you see, now we all have to be jurors. Now we all have to be judges, right? Trust me, there will be some backlash. And hear me when I say it correctly. Backlash to this. But she is found guilty. A little Rebecca will be going to, even though her name is Amber, her little Rebecca will be going in, serving big time.
So, Barry, do you really think she was, do you think they did this because of the climate, or do you think they did this because it was justice? Because, you know, in America, justice kind of have a lot of different faces to different communities. And so we really try to be a part of a system that historically has not always valued us, period.
Not at all.
You know what I mean? So do you think that this verdict with her will make people feel like we can believe in this system because she was found guilty.
I hope it doesn't, right? I hope niggas don't get comfortable, because I think that we often do that, right? Mm-hmm. We often find ourselves feeling appropriate when things that are supposed to happen, right? Mm-hmm. Like, she was supposed to be found guilty. Let's be clear, family. This wasn't, to me, anything but an obvious murder. But in a reality, in law, murder is hard to convict, right? Murder is it's hard to convict. You rather get a murder charge because you have to prove without a shadow of a doubt, like, this was something premeditated. This was something that was plotted out, right? Or this was an intentful thing to happen. So by that, you all like, I don't know how they're going to pull this one off. And then white tears have gotten some of the most prolific people that we continue to talk about in our time killed. Emmett Till, right? Mm-hmm. We saw that.
We know this heifer lie.
Right, exactly. And to this day, the truth that we already know has now been spoken. And Emmett Till still has not got clear justice for the woman that lied who's still alive. Right? Who were able to live her life and do as she was supposed to do for her own self, even though that guilt of her lying about this young boy got him massacred, right?
Right on.
So, white tears has created so much injustice here in America for black men that you just found yourself seeing everything that's happened, not only throughout history, but as well currently, that you just was like, I'm not too sure about this. So watching it go down and it being such a public case, it's a great thing to see, but I'm not satisfied, nor am I comfortable with it, because I don't believe this inherits us to believe the system can now be changed by us going with inside the system and being the spook by the door or cultivating change inside the confines of a racist system. I'll tell you one thing, every dog has his day, and I believe that when you're really trying to change the idea, we'll always get a sacrificial lamb. And I look like the young officer, Amber, was a white woman. And what I feel in the intentionality what white women have to always understand, you're looked at just like us in so many different ways. White women aren't respected in America just like black people aren't respected in America, right?
That's not true.
I don't know about that.
That's not true.
There's a value to white women in a way, but it's not as valuable as they may think.
See, you can say that as a black man, but as a black woman, we know that all of the major health departments, all of the major things that have to do with anything around power, white women would get that over a black woman or a black man. So I'm never putting them in the same boat. They're never in the same boat. Never. And that man is running it. See, it's kind of like when black men are going through or experiencing some things, we'll say we, but it could just be him. You know what I mean? So no, I don't. I know that not to be true. Just for all my years of living.
So you don't believe? So you believe white women are valued?
Oh hell yeah! As a black woman, for my position,
I feel like
hell yes,
they are frowned upon, and this is not defending the situation. They are frowned upon. They're looked upon as you're beneath me.
I think that's the lie you tell yourself, Barry. But if you're in the world and you're seeing how white women were treated historically in slavery, just the way that a black man could say, a white woman could say, "Oh my God, you touched me."
In a sense of that,
but that's value.
Okay, in the sense of that, I get that. But the reality, I believe that when you look at all the things that women have gone through, white women have gone through, right?
I don't know what they've gone through, because I was there cleaning their floors, breastfeeding their children, being their maid while they decided to lay on the couch.
Let's not. I don't want this to view this is me supporting any of their criticisms or any of their values or anything that got going. But I'm just saying it for the sake of just lining it up in my idea with my queen's idea.
Right.
When you hear women, and just looking at Mr. 45 that we'll touch on a little bit later, when you hear white women that have spoken upon it,
they supported him overwhelmingly.
Yeah, and they voted. They've done.
Yeah.
But I'm saying
they're
oppressed because they still support evil, and they've supported evil.
That's their son, Barry. That's their brother. So same way we support black males who kill other people, but we don't see that as being a.
But I'm just talking about his value. I'm talking about in value.
But that's what I'm talking about.
Okay, but in value, I still see that they are degraded in such a way, and it's not like black women or it's not like black folks. So let me kind of take back the value of them being like black people. But in some cases, I just think that their voices are quieted just as much as black people are quieted.
No,
they now participate in the fuckery because at the end of the day, what else are they going to do? Like they sat there and they participated.
Stand next to their man.
They sat there and participated in the enslavement as well as the rape.
50% of slaveholders were white women. So tell me again how they now have 50% of slaveholders in the U.S.
They had been big. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm getting widowed.
Yeah.
After they were widowed, and I'm not saying after they were widowed, after they inherited it. Yeah, so they didn't come get it;
Barry,
they inherited it, right?
Yes, but they also stood there while the man was alive and helped him govern.
No.
So don't tell me about they not valued. Don't tell me they weren't valued, Barry, because they were.
But
that's
I don't
from
believe.
Your perception. I don't believe. We have to tell ourselves that.
Okay, but I don't.
You in the same boat with me? They're like, okay, and they go, yeah, Well,
but that's not
going off to the sunset.
But that's not again defending the white woman. I'm saying that.
Her, but you're making a great case. As a black woman, I'm like, no, I'm not buying that.
No, and that's what
I'm not buying that.
And I'm happy that you're doing that because this is what we're supposed to do. But I'm just saying.
Go ahead, Steve Streeter. He says white women raise their white men. So you cannot say she's powerless. You cannot say that. Blessings, Brother Tim. That's why I know that to be true. That's why you got to be very careful when trying to put people in sinking boats.
Let me go. Hold on. Hey, Steve Streeter jumping in, huh?
Yeah, he did. That's all I'm saying.
Because
when the white man say nigga, he don't just mean the black man. He mean the black woman too. I don't get the luxury, but like I ain't with that nigga. I don't get the luxury. And that's my brother. That's my son. That's my nephew. That's my. They don't separate the two. I don't know why we keep trying to separate the white woman from the white man. Never. She births the white man. Like there's no way.
And see, that's the one thing. I have not done that, but I'm saying I've not done that. They are solely in connection and complicit with the bullshit. Let's not get it twisted.
So you're going to be a victim
now
and a perpetrator at the same time.
That's what happens, right?
Well, no,
I'm saying that. I'm saying this only. Let me just flatline.
That's a great strategy, though.
But let me flatline.
Muhammad said the greatest trick of the white man is the woman.
Okay.
And Lord,
let me flatline it. No. Let me flatline it because let me make it really clear and simple.
Make it plain.
Yeah, I'm definitely making it plain. I think I might have tried to orchestrate it too much. I said white women are valued. Yo, you gonna flip that on me. Here's the thing. That a white woman would be a sacrificial lamb more than a white man. And that's why I say in a sense of value. They'll give you Amber, but they won't give you Todd. They won't give you Dale. That's what I'm saying.
Apparently they have. So in another state, there's been an arrest. And I just got, the third police officer has been sentenced to prison for framing black males. Well, that's a man. You mean he not a sacrificial lamb? That's another cop. She was a cop. She was a woman.
When was this?
This just recently happened.
Well, I mean, every once in a while,
Queen. Oh, every once in a while.
Every once in a while. We're talking. But you can though, because if we're looking at,
I think we make white men too bad.
No. If we're looking at the framework of the policing and the murder, remember they also threw out and put in jail the officer that killed the guy in South Carolina. So the shit does happen every once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
The guy in Chicago got found guilty. So the shit does happen. But what I'm saying, for cases like this that was such a high profile case, they're not, I don't want to hear this quality and now we're doing the right thing. They would rather give you a sacrificial lamb like a white woman than them. The white woman is here to protect the white man.
Hey,
and that's
right on, Steve. Steve said, I promise you, white men loves their mothers. And no matter what happens behind closed doors, they will. I've seen them do some brazen stuff, But more importantly, Barry, I seen white women create situations that made it so hard for you, the black man. Mm-hmm. See, the black woman, we already know this heifer because we've been wiping her asshole for the last couple, we ain't had no choice but to clean her house and do whatever she says. So the help was real. Mm-hmm. That wasn't like some cute movie that was produced.
And
I know people who were the help. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite teachers said her mama was the help. And she talked about how brutal white women were. So there's no way in hell they could be a victim.
No,
or they could be like they're in the same boat with me. Never in the same boat with me.
Now hold on.
Never in the same boat.
I never said there was victims. I never said there was victims. Now, don't get me on this. Don't get me on the. You ain't gonna have me this other kind of info. I ain't gonna have that.
So this third officer, because then there's another police chief who basically, and I can't remember what city it is. I have it somewhere. Who basically expunged records and dropped charges for 31 black people who basically was had these charges up against their name, and this police officer, I think he was a brother, basically y'all got all these stuff dismissed. So I mean, I guess sometimes the police do, it does work. I mean,
what are you talking about?
Yeah, I guess it does. I guess justice does work.
They
just, you can't say it's always the other way all the time.
Listen, I don't give a damn. A broke clock. What they say? A broke clock is right twice a day.
Shut up, Barry.
I'm just saying we're not gonna do this. That's what we're not gonna do. We're not gonna do that. There's a few times that a police officer or police get it right, and now we're gonna go sit there and say, you know what, justice is here, because right here in Sacramento, they didn't get it right.
Well, wait a minute. They looked at the evidence, Barry, and evidently cops aren't allowed to make a mistake when they're on patrol.
You ain't funny.
They're not allowed to make a mistake?
No, they're not. Not like this.
Wow.
Not like this.
Okay. I mean, that's why I could never be a cop, because you can't afford to make those mistakes. You can't accidentally shoot somebody and they die, and you're like, damn. I jumped the gun. I mean, my finger,
Yeah, but see that, and that becomes a situation to where, again, you have a case to where this case they got it right, but then when you go back to the case that we just had here, Stephon Clark,
right?
They got it completely wrong.
Well, wait a minute. They had a black man working on this case as well. There was a black man that was involved in the shooting who was definitely a black male. Is it the fact that he was an officer? But if he was just any other black man, we wouldn't even know this brother's name. So he can't mess up on the job as a black man? Are you saying he's not valuable as a black officer? The police chief was a black man. You think he don't understand what his black men have been?
Boy, you is comedy today. You are comedy
I'm working
today.
on my serious, gotta present both sides, Barry.
Work on both sides. Be objective.
I'm just saying, because you have a black police chief. Here. Who's from the hood?
Is he really?
Saying, yeah, he's from Del Paso Heights. Okay. He from one of the oldest communities that we have here in Sacramento. And
I thought he was from Oak Park.
No, I heard he grew up in. I don't know. I just know the Heights love him, and you could very well be true. I just know he's from the hood. Oak Park's another hood. So, evidently you have a black man, happened to preside over another black man who was shot down in his grandmother's backyard by another black man who was an officer. So there's a lot of black people in this one. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's always we want to go to blue when we know there's other shades in between, because we'll celebrate you as a black folks when you're doing something for us. But when you do something against us and you are police officers, we be on some other stuff. Like, maybe this Negro didn't read the whole handbook. I don't know. Shit, maybe he was absent on training. I think they could. Don't they go to training and stuff like that? What do you do when you see a Negro with a cell phone, but it could be a gun? There's got to be some shit like that in the handbook. Barry, I'm trying to be... I can't stand it.
Hey, y'all.
I'm trying to present facts here.
Listen. She came
y'all need to
listen.
Hey, Steve.
Listen, she came in with an agenda already. So it is really working in purpose right now.
No. But I do think we have to look at this in this particular way, Barry. Okay. Like, I know there's this line about the police, and I get it. Historically, you see, what kind of gets me with some of the new Negroes, or I'm not trying to be funny, but the new Negroes, y'all funny because y'all don't study. Okay. So y'all funny as shit. So you'll be basing your shit on the right now. But if we went back, we can go to 85, we can go to 65, we can go to 35, whatever. We've always had these issues with the police all the way back to slavery when they were the patty rollers or the slave patrollers.
AKA
the nickname is, yeah. So, people in the South call them the patty rollers. We always have slang for people like the popo. Mm-hmm. How we got the popo and the patty rollers? Like, come on, But what I'm saying is, if you know historically who these people are, right, and then you decide to become a police officer, you know what I mean? You got to look at this. What are you joining on for? Mm. See, at some point, we got to be honest. When we join the other team, that shit is the other team. But somehow we want to join the other team and still think you can help your people too. Mm. I'm not understanding that as a logic. Okay. That's like being a teacher and they give you a curriculum that you know is going to fuck your kids up, but you have to do it because you're a teacher. Yeah. So it's kind of like, come on, people. Like, come on. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, see, he said he's from OP.
He's from OP. Okay, yeah, right on. I know they love him in Del Paso Heights. They love him in Del Paso Heights. All shit, see, he said, leave the Clark case alone. Hell, I would have done the same thing. Now, Steve, you gotta build on that. Because I know you was in law enforcement yourself. You retired now.
So what is he saying?
But explain, he just said, leave the Clark case alone. He would have did the same thing. And all I'm saying is, and this is going to sound real, because I'm going to say this, and I think at some point, this is the part black folks skip over. We skip over shit all the time. Now, my thing is, you know how many people that came up because his brother was murdered by the police or killed by the police or whatever, wrongfully shot? I don't know how you can wrongfully kill somebody, but hell, that's like casualties. I don't know how you can be a casualty and you're dead. I don't know what's casual about dying. Yeah. I can see a casual suit, but I don't know about a casual death. Yes. But it is so many different tentacles to this case, because before he was shot, some people couldn't retire as be an activist full time. We didn't have like money from the Kings. There's a lot of shit we didn't have before this brother was murdered. That's just to keep it solid. And this is the real shit we don't want to talk about, because this is where it's like putting your dirty laundry in public, but the public already know you got dirty laundry, because that's why there's fucking public laundromats. How much was this brother really worth in death to us as a people than he was when he was alive? Like people, like Nipsey Hussle. I didn't even know who Nipsey Hussle was. Like most Negroes didn't know who he was, unless you was in the rap game or in a certain world. Facts. But when he died, he became super valuable. Yeah. So we do super, so if you're going to get killed out there, please get killed by a police officer. Don't get killed by another black person. Ain't nobody going to know your name. Ain't nobody going to know shit. Please get killed by the police. That's the highest compliment you can pay back, folks. And then we can get in the street and say it was wrong, and then some of us going to get some money. And your family, your children may come up here. This is better than insurance. And his mama, if somebody had insurance on, they got, what, $200,000? $2.4 million is not bad. You like Tupac. No. You see, thank y'all, family.
Listen.
He says everybody loves Han.
Listen.
Everybody loves Han. Hey, Steve, I thought it was me, but I'm just saying. See, that's why y'all need to have real elders. See, real elders would have said this shit back in the day. They'd be like, nigga. They'd start giving you the whole history. But because we do leaf knowledge. We don't even do branch knowledge to do root knowledge. We do leaf knowledge. Leaves fall off and die. And then, Yeah. So, I know that's kind of a hard sell. I know we don't want to really be talking about this case and, Sacramento had the light on it for a couple of years. Negroes was in the street. Hell, I knew somebody who retired from their job to be a full-time activist. The shit was on fire in Sacramento. But where is that Negro today? Ain't heard from the person. Don't know how they felt. Because the other parts of this, even though it was a cop, one of them was black. Do he not have value because he's a black cop? But when we get in trouble, we will be asking for the black cop. I mean, shit, I don't know. This shit's too complicated. Yeah, I need a drink of water.
Yeah, I see that. And you need a fan, too. Listen, I'm trying to get my volume down because I'm trying to, make sure that when I chime in and get people.
Y'all know I ain't lying.
Listen.
Y'all know I ain't lying.
I can't get into that. Okay, well, you said a lot. You said a lot of stuff.
I need you to answer that because, you're the most unpopular dude. You know what I'm saying? Most unpopular.
Most disliked.
Popular dude,
yeah.
Right?
Right? Yeah. You already know what it is. Yeah.
So hey, now Barry, look. My thing is, I can agree. Like I hear, you ever hear the truth or something? You be like, damn, that's fucked up. You be like, well, that's all you can say. You may not want to say, damn, right? You know, you be like, because you know that has the ring of truth on it. These are things that we don't ask or talk about in our community because we got the audacity to think that, oh, what people gonna think. People already know black folks fucked up. They already know. Where else could you come in America and move to the hood and put all your family through college? But the ghetto where there's black people. Y'all come on, talk back to me. Talk black to me. You know I ain't lying.
They love it.
No other group can come and do some shit like that to us, and then we up there like, but our life means something. And no, we had a brother that was just shot down and murdered. I ain't seen nobody in the street for that. I was waiting though. We talking about retaliation. We gotta go get in the street. Motherfucker, you should have been in the street. Y'all should have been in the street. Come on now. Quit playing with me. Quit playing with me. Like you either gonna get on the pot or get the hell off. But we know that's the truth, Barry.
You're gonna have to do all the responses because I can't even. They're not even letting me do my.
Oh, damn! You back in Facebook jail?
I don't know what's going on.
Man, Brother Jamil is in Facebook jail. I had to share your. I said, damn.
It won't let me get my volume down.
Okay.
Look at this stuff.
Oh yeah, that's your phone. Okay. It is up to the side. Is what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah. Try that one.
Well,
oh yeah, that just took a picture. Okay, I'm sorry.
See,
I'm sorry, y'all trying to help my brother with his stuff, but look,
I can't even go ahead and.
If he's gonna be calling us house police, oh shit!
What did he say?
Damn, Steve said if you're going to grandma's house, please use the sidewalk and the front door. Hopping fences will get you shot. Now, I need you to speak back to that. Look. I didn't really grow up with my grandma. I had grandmother figures, and I always, went to the front. But some people like, hanging out in the backyards, and maybe she left the back door unlocked. So after he do whatever, I don't know. Because different. All families ain't the same. I'm not trying to be funny. All families, all families are not the same. Let me just say that. I'm just gonna be flat out honest. And I'm not trying to be funny, but families aren't the same. Like the stuff I do in my house. With my family, other black folks, some of us grew up with strict traditional, and I did, and some people grew up with some new age shit because their parents was on some other shit. I don't know. Here, you can look through my phone.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, you got another phone. Shit. Okay. So, my bigger locked up. What does that mean?
What?
He said my bigger locked up. I don't know what that means.
Who said that?
That's Steve Streeter. And Steve, thank you for chiming in because I think these are thoughts that we have. But then we'll jump all the way to the death and be like, well, it was just wrong. But I don't hear that same thing when black young people shoot other black young people. You get crickets with black people. Crickets. Because you ain't no value on you unless maybe you a first responder. And I guess it could be give a couple of people jobs. But other than that, like there's no outcry. There's no community forum. There's no let's go to the street. There's none of that shit with black folks.
I disagree.
Really?
Yeah.
How you disagree, Barry?
I disagree because I know I have participated or convened in a lot of these things. Don't Shoot Our Future Down with Les Simmons.
You do that even when nobody is getting shot.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm talking about. So here's the thing: you not in that category because you also do stuff when you give out youth jobs. You also do some stuff on the front end before people get shot. Yeah. That's very different. So I get what you're saying. Yes. I'm talking about.
But when
you
say
activists.
Nobody,
no, I don't mean nobody. You're right.
Okay,
I'll take that back.
I'll
take that back. You're right.
Because when you say nobody, it's like you've been clear on everything.
Yeah.
So you just said it again now. Those activists. So now that's good.
Yeah,
those so-called activists.
You're right. There are people out there doing stuff. You're absolutely right, Barry. But I just know those. How do you call them? It's kind of like being a hunter, and you only go out when the game is good. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And so you're right. There are. I want to say they're almost like gatekeepers. They're almost like predators. And I'm not talking about predators in terms of the way we traditionally think about them as sex predators. I'm about predators and like, oh my God, it's like buzzards. They circle around, and then when people are down, here they come, taking pictures on the scene. Oh my God, please stop. They're on Facebook. Please stop the violence. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Are you getting this person a job, or are you out there talking more shit, adding to the confusion, even as an adult?
Yes, Queen, thank you. There's no cameras. That's why nobody hears about it. Because the reality is, and this is true,
right on.
The media will talk about the shooting per se, but they won't always focus on the prevention, and they won't have... I talk to the media all the time.
Right on.
And
Steve got a good comment. Go ahead.
I got certain media folks that will call me and ask me, you got anything going on today? Sometimes I'm like, okay, I got this. That might not resonate to what they could pitch to them.
But do Negro activists call you and be like, Barry, what you got going on? Because I'm out here in these streets.
Negroes activists do subliminal messages with me.
Oh, shit, okay.
And be hating on the sidelines.
Because let me tell you something. Steve Streeter just said something that had the ring of truth. He said, I'm sad we could not have been there for Brother Clark before the shooting. He needed us long before the shooting. And that is my point.
But here's the thing about it. I'm going to debate that.
Debate that.
Why? Because mentorship is a high volume, something that I specialized in even way before I put my own interest in Voice of the Youth, my nonprofit, in 2008. So the reality is, when niggas want to sit there and start saying, we lost them, well, how did we lose them? Did you guys service that person to services that are in the community? And at the same time, some of us don't have a heavy volume to be able to support brothers and sisters that are now so far gone to where there are certain things they need. And a lot of them need money and housing, right? So we can't sit there and say, no, nigga, we didn't do nothing. You know what I mean?
You don't want the French
exactly,
right now.
Because there's no French in that shit. Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of community services and programming that's out there. It comes to a few different reasons of how. One, what is the family structure? If if that family structure is disabled or dysfunctional, it is always going to be a harder sell to talk to a young person and show them something different. What is their community they live in? What does their neighborhood look like? Right? I can come outside out of that community or not be from that community and show a young person a different light. But the influences from that community and that neighborhood can be more powerful than what I'm saying, because they can't visualize what I'm giving the vision for, because they don't see it, because they don't be around what I'm around, right? So let's really look at that. And then the third thing, do him and her want the resources to help change their life? A lot of young people have sat there and said, I am going to make my bed and I'm going to rest in it. And you can't do nothing about it but pray and hope they see the light. One of the things that saved me when I was in the life was just one important word. Powerful word that I don't think we really realize how important and powerful it is. It's called foundation. I had the proper foundation in my household, regardless of how me and my father didn't see eye to eye, but the structure, the foundation, the values, the morality that was installed in the household, though me and my father didn't see eye to eye, there were certain values that were lived by, and that foundation was always cemented. That foundation wasn't muddy. That foundation wasn't built on wood. It was not built on sand. It was cemented, concrete, metal.
Right on.
So that foundation, when I went astray, I was able to come back because
you had good foundation.
I got a good foundation. I already know what it is. I'm going to go sip on this sand, fall in this water, but I know. So these are the kind of the things that we have to kind of look at, besides saying we as a community failed. I'll tell you what we as a community did. We failed in the process of responding to the DA, to the California attorney, and up until what our police chief. And that's what I want to go back into.
Okay, go back into that.
I don't want to go back into the fact that everything that you said, though it's a matter of fact, here goes into the idea of where we moved from Amber, a.k.a. Miss Becky, police officer, getting found guilty.
There, Becky.
Whatever the judge did, because the judge did a lot to tell the jury, hey guys, well, this could have happened and that could have happened. So to me, that shakes my head like, what you trying to do? Where the jury saw and said, you know what, hell nah. I'm going to use some objective thinking and be like, yo, that broad killed this motherfucker. I don't know if they knew each other, but that's murder. And I applaud those people on the jury that didn't allow the judge to sway them because of things she said. So reality, I don't want to hear about black judges because she was setting up the not guilty or the judge. Yes, it was a black judge. So that brings me back to Police Chief Hunt.
Shit.
And the reality of where we did fail as a community. We failed in a simple fact that we continue to allow ourselves to put these messiah complexes on individuals that are merely mortal.
And they're going against a whole goddamn system.
And as well as thinking that the Black Knight in shining armor is going to ride in the sunset and change a culture that has been cemented, the foundation that has been cemented before he was even born. When my queen sister said, what's wrong with us is we pretend these problems are current when these problems are continuums.
Yup, that's real talk.
Ain't nothing original about what we're going through right now.
Right on.
And we could go through Rodney King in 92.
Yep.
Right?
We can go on back.
And we could go back even further then. So when we start trying to pretend that these issues are issues that have now just sprung on and America stop being racist and America stop having this hatred for black people, and we start thinking that, well, if we get more people in the system, things will change. Let's go through the idea of America. Once black folks were allowed to become some of the fabric of America, not just the labors of America, right? When Negroes was giving some sense of power and responsibility, let's go through every city that is black in the United States and tell me what the poverty line is. Tell me what the education system is. We are losing on a higher level with people in leadership that look just like us, whether it was a black man or black woman, because we have this argument that a black woman could do it better than a black man, a black man could do it better than a black woman, or let the young people ride. It's all fucked up all the way around. So this idea and this thought that put more black people in positions of power, things are changing. We just saw that black police commissioner just laid it on this rogue police officer that arrested him 4 years ago in a very public setting, said he was a bad police officer. The silly Negro black chief of that precinct outed the black commissioner, not the white dude that got the award and got outed for his failing to be a good cop. Not the fact that he wrote a false report. The black police chief was talking that, I don't know why the black commissioner did that. That was uncalled for. He was serving an excuse for his fellow officer. Right on. So for us to talk about that when black people are in these positions of power, things are going to change. How, why, and when? Because here is a perfect case to where Police Chief Hunt, as well as understanding that, yes, Howard Chan can do what he could do, but why would Howard Chan, the city manager of Sacramento, take away the power and the ability for the chief? I'm going to put that on you. You can go ahead and do what you say you're going to do. And from everything, for me, it looked like if you are not going to per se fire them, you're going to make sure not one of these cops is patrolling the streets of Sacramento. And let me make sure I get what he said. This is what he said. This is from y'all police chief, right? That some of y'all love so much.
So while you finding that, Steve Judas has been doing the work for over 30 years, but can't say everyone, more importantly, to make knowledge more available. You both are doing the work daily. Personally, I love and respect the both of you. But he also said, Han enforces the law. We must change the law. Here we go with this law.
And I understand that.
And then the recent changes in law in California will offer greater protection for citizens against police shootings. And then he said, Chan is Han's boss.
Again.
Okay. I'm just reading comments.
Again.
I got you started. Yeah. So you talked about me. Now I got you up.
Listen, I was just trying to get my thing regulated and let you do your thing. But again, if I am the supervisor of what you say is my responsibility in my precinct, right? I'm going to want you to let me do what I feel is right. Overall, doesn't matter, right? If I got a bigger boss, you're going to empower the person that you got in a position to work for the people who feels that they know a little bit more about the job. So why would Howard Chan come walk in and be like, oh, I'm going to make this decision for you? No, you the police chief. This is the moment of truth. Make your decision. Come on now. So here's what he said.
Okay.
This incident has been thoroughly investigated by law enforcement agencies at the local, state, and federal levels, said Chief Daniel Hahn in a prepared statement. Every one of these independent examinations has reached the same finding. The use of deadly force in this case was lawful. Right? Hold on a second. Our internal investigation concluded that there were no violations of department policy or training. The officers involved in this case will return to full active duty. He said, clearing the officers of any wrongdoing. This ain't got nothing to do with Howard Chan. This got to do
or Howard Johnson. Go ahead.
Shit. Or Mike Johnson. This got to do with this Negro is a systematic Negro that you all pointed to be the savior of the black community. When, yes, Streeter, my OG king, policies and laws do have to change. The police bill of rights that some of us activists have been yelling from the rooftops, change the police bill of rights, because we know enforced by law, enforced by policies, it don't matter what your training do. The law is still the same shit. Stop talking to me about training more. How can we train all these motherfuckers more when your laws and policies don't change? That's why I hate when they say that. We need more money for training. Well, how do we get some money to change the policies and laws?
How do we get some money to change your motherfucking mind? Because I'm going to say this. You can have laws, you can have policy, you can have training. If in your mind you think black people are the scum of the planet Earth and they're not seen as human beings, none of them three motherfuckers is going to help black folks. But we've been here for hundreds of years and none of this shit's worked.
But you know what? Keep it 100. You're right. But the reality is, at least if you have laws that are being broken, right? At least if you have laws that are being broken, at least some jury, at least some prosecutor can dictate, well, in law by rule 2.5, you broke that. But here's the thing.
And we're going to put you on paid administrative leave. That's what the fuck we're going to get back. I mean, come on.
But I'm just saying.
This shit is a whole game
It's a whole game. And that's why I say putting emphasis on this reality, like he was going to do something different than his predecessor when there was all these other things that was pushing against him. Because, see, the first thing to me is by humanity. What this has done to the community on all levels. This ain't just the Clark family that's suffering. Come on, y'all. This is not just the Clark family that's just suffering. They take the brunt of the suffering. But let's go through history. Just as it is in Sacramento when it came to us really attacking policing here in Sacramento. In 2014, many of us activists and some previous from that have built up this case to show that policing in Sacramento ain't no better than anywhere else, and there's lots of lawlessness, there's a lot of racism, and it's a corrupted system. Since 2014, it was on the agenda of many activists where some picked up the baton and saw where laws are changed, not just because of 2018 Stephon Clark, it's because it was already pushing towards that. Let's be clear. Kevin Johnson, our mayor before, black man again, sat there and told us that this was not Ferguson. And I will repeat, as I spoke to Kevin Johnson one time.
Is this the same man that have charges, that have things going on with him?
Oh, but he's doing fixings though.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Sometimes I'll be thinking, I always look at the background of the person that's talking. But I'm sorry, go ahead. I thought you were talking about somebody that was upstanding in our community and that, we take his word for it. But maybe it's the black
that's what it is. It's just because it's the black savior complex. That's the same thing. So the reality is, I remember saying to him, like, dude, we're one national moment away from Ferguson, and the national moment came in 2018. It proceeded 2016, and what they did is like, you know what, we're going to give these Negroes what they want since they're yelling and hooping in. We're going to give them who we should have gave them in the beginning. We're going to give them Daniel Hunt. And that quieted up Negroes because a lot of Negroes have all these built-in relationships. But then what ends up happening is the moment of truth happens, and it's not the simple fact that the laws won't allow him to fire him. It's the simple fact that this Negro is literally saying they're back on full active duty here in Sacramento. How does that work? Because if a community is crushed for all the work to revealing the tragedies, and on top of the murder of Stephon Clark, you have Marshall Miles, you got Daryl Richards, you know what I'm saying? You have all these others, and some we just forget because it's just so much shit going on, because some make national news, others just have to figure it out their own self, but all tragedies in the same light, as well as constant accusations about bad police policy with policing, where they're breaking into people's houses unannounced. They're arresting young kids for just talking, right? They're pointing guns at kids for walking down the street. All of this happening under Chief Hunt's watch, but you will not see a outline of Negroes stepping up or standing up, because the likeness of Chief Hunt of being the first African American police chief is something that resonates with black people. It's that symbolism that we get caught up in.
Okay, so Steve is talking to you. So Steve is saying that's absolutely correct. California law were not broken in that case. As I stated earlier, I would have did the same thing. Y'all would have been mad at me. He said, I've been in a similar situation and had to make a decision in 2 seconds. That lasts a lifetime.
This is the thing. Everything about that case was punishable, because they're supposed to have their body cameras on at all time. And the body cameras, when another officer came so they could kind of talk it out, that was shut down. Another is when the helicopters were giving information to the officers, why didn't the officers shine that big spotlight on Stephon Clark, as well as why didn't one of the officers say, hey, let's call up for backup? And then two, why didn't the officers say, hey, police officers, hey, we're the police, put your hands up? I didn't hear none of that shit. It was like he got a gun, blah, 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 shot, bam, and the young bull's dead. And then we find out, oh, he doesn't have a gun. It was a cell phone. And because I was in the case when it first started, all of the miscues and all the misinformation, all the communication that they put out in the media, where it was a toolbar, they was creating a story of not only vindication of the murder, but a cover-up. So the whole thing was schemed up as a cover-up. The only thing that was championed was the attitude as if Chief Hunt was a champion of the community, and like he was going to do the right thing.
He gonna fix it.
Yeah, like he's going to fix it. Like that's what it is. And I think that what also happens is when Negroes believe in that and don't keep the pressure, because see, we talked about this before we got online. Too many of you Negroes is too nice to Negroes that shouldn't be having these nice conversations. Negroes ain't bold enough. They're not going to put you and I in certain rooms because Negroes don't want to hear that fire. Because all y'all want to be cuddling, happy, support. Y'all don't do the tough ass conversations. And if some of y'all say y'all do, I don't believe it, because it would be shown in some of these people's decision patterns. And it's not. There's no pressure. This dude was taking pictures with the family. This dude was at Black family days, taking pictures with so-called activists. This dude was being invited to read books. This dude was invited to talk shows. I mean, there was one particular time that there was a panel.
You said the nigga was invited to read books?
Yeah, all type of shit. The dude was on a panel, right? And it was with the kids. Time for change. I was involved in like the planning process, and they're like, well, we want to have the conversation with the chief. I said, well, I need to be a part of that conversation. They did everything in their power to not allow me to be a part of that conversation because they didn't want me to be raw. So they gave it to my brother Les, who did a great, phenomenal job. But as it was the conversation, it wouldn't have been a conversation of what we all need to do and try to do as a community. And all I keep on hearing from Chief and some other police apologists is we have to come together. We have to heal together. How can you heal without justice? Right now, Dallas feels I can have a conversation with a police officer now because some of them know what time it is, right? Because someone is like, oh shit, they got one of ours. Now I can sit there and say, all right, well, let's talk about this community relationship because I have at least a feeling that if a police does something wrong, they're going to jail. That's what their feeling is here. Right here, we should be...
The law was broken in that case, in the Dallas case.
It was broken here in Sacramento. What are you niggas talking about?
My California law was not broken, Barry. But here's the hard thing. Here we go, y'all. Please don't be... I don't give a fuck be mad at me anyway because y'all don't, But I also think, was the price of Stephon Clark's life that $2.4 million would help these two officers to pay for their crime? It's kind of like when you go to church and they say, turn to the book of Christ. I mean, look up your sin and pay.
Hold on, wait. First of all.
You said
I'm sorry. First of all, this is what's wrong with you Negroes. Because I'm gonna be very clear. Though I love you, OG, you used to be you were part of that good boy committee, that OG committee that never really spawned on some of the young guns. You part of that. That's good. It's okay. But don't tell me hating. I'm not hating on no Negro. But I'm not gonna put my trust or put a messiah on any Negroes because they don't fit that. These Negroes ain't God. I don't give a damn about what laws are put. I'm saying simply, the laws and policy, I know what it is. Ann Schubert basically let us know these Negroes ain't getting charged, y'all. The laws, the policies, been saying that, understood that. The reality is humanity. In a simple case of, all right, maybe can't fire them, but these motherfuckers ain't going to be in this goddamn community. You do something that makes people feel, okay, well, these motherfuckers ain't here. This ain't got shit to do, and that's what's wrong with you Negroes. These laws that were created and policies were created were against us. Do you not understand?
But they ain't on our team like that.
That's what I'm saying. We're talking all this. I don't give a shit about none of that shit. And any Negro, that's why I'm an outliner. Because most of you Negroes played the role to get along. I ain't do that. I ain't had to do that. And so when I came up, it was because Barry did the shit the way he wanted to do it. And none of you Negroes gave me any opportunities like that. Motherfuckers give me a few handshakes, say that person, this person, want to hear none of that shit. And that's the problem. We have to put pressure on the Negroes that are in these positions so they know, Negro, you're not going to be comfortable. Okay? You decided to be a police chief, so guess what? We going to give you the hell for it when shit don't go right. You goddamn right. I don't care about your policies. It's a black... If you believe what this community has gone through for a year and a half, that what you're going to give us back because you don't have the right temperament to sit there and say, though the law says I cannot fire these officers have been transferred into Alaska, to where you want to sit there and say, oh, they're back on active duty because they've done nothing unlawful. Motherfucker, that's all white people say. That slavery wasn't unlawful. Remember, slavery was legal at one time.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
So don't tell me that Negro politics, that Negro tone, that silly Negro shit. I don't want to hear that shit. We're going to chastise. We're going to berate. We're going to make all these Negroes that decide to put themselves and say they are for us in an uncomfortable position if when they don't do right by the people. We ain't talking about a system, talking about the people. They're going to be held to the highest regard. I'm not just going to keep on. Matter of fact, after watching the great brother Ryuki coming down, and can't even talk about that right now because we got so much shit happening, I'm going to make sure that I'm just going to stop blaming white people.
But that's talking about accountability.
Black folks don't want to have accountability. Hold me accountable.
I swear to God, I'll figure that out.
2019 is going to be the last hurrah of Barry Axius going so hard on the pale folk to the level of where I'm just going to just put all the pressure on them. Nah, I don't even care how they feel or think about me. I should care more about my people, and we have to clean up our own fucking mess because we see what it is.
Now you're starting to sound like the Panthers because they was into that.
Come on now.
They lasted less than 10 years.
Jesus Christ, I'm done with all that shit. But don't sit here and talk about, I don't give a shit about no goddamn fucking laws or none of that shit. Don't sit there and talk about leave him alone, Negro. Because, see, you be the same Negro that's going to go smile and go take pictures with Kevin Johnson, who's a pedophile. Right? Who's been accused by doing unlawful things. We were talking about law.
Yep.
To women.
Which is why he didn't run for mayor again.
Okay? I mean, that's the whole thing. But because I say it, I'm going against a black man. Negro, these is facts. What am I doing? Because if I did some shit like that, I'll be castrated because I don't fit into the nice politics of Negroes. And that's one of the reasons why I won't go into politics. Because I'm not politically correct.
We need you though, Barry,
fuck out of here.
For politics.
No,
you need to go on that system. You could be like Superman. You could break that system up. Because that's the shit we tell ourselves when we run for shit.
And I want to get voted on. Because then the white folks wouldn't vote me.
White folks will probably vote for you.
They would
Black people not going to vote for you, Barry. They'd be like, he got fired.
Listen, Negroes is too sensitive with their Negro elite. Wow. We're too sensitive with the Jesus Obamas. We're too sensitive with our white Jesus. We're too sensitive with the white system that has cultivated and destroyed us. We're too sensitive when we put black figures in positions of power because we are saying, well, we can't help them fail, but we don't hold them accountable, so then they do fail. If that boy, Chief Hunt, had the pressure that he needed, Nichols was on his neck every day like, you're going to do the right thing, right?
But you know, black folks, all you gotta do is give us time and we'll
Queen,
shit. So
if this nigga wasn't invited to none of the black shit, Nichols is calling him up. Yeah, hey, so I saw this thing that you guys are doing. I'm not invited there. Now we just got some things. We just want to see what you're gonna do with this Stephon Clark case. If Nichols blackballed him like the NFL can blackball Colin Kaepernick, what? Chief Hunt would have sat there and said, "Hey, yo, these motherfuckers ain't gonna be over here doing none of this shit." But again, we too comfortable, we're too passive. And think the cool thing about it, I'm not anti-Chief Hunt because I have a relationship with him. But I know when we are at a place to where negotiations need to happen, I'm not finna be, no, we're not going to rock like that right now.
So hold on. So Steve is saying, you speak for yourself. He can't fire another without cause because you don't agree. Change the law. Then he said he did the right thing talking about Chief Hunt. But let me just say this. Let me just say this. And this is what I love about life and the law of reciprocity. I hope that people feel the same way when this shit knocks on their door.
Exactly.
That's always the test of time.
Yeah.
And so when that shit happens, and some of us will be okay with that. Some of us be like, well, that's the law. They just killed my son, but that's the law. You know, I don't know nobody who, when that shit happened to them, they was like, well, that was the law. My baby probably was doing some. I mean, you know, that's the sickness of us as black people. But at some point, what I know about the whole system, they look at how we relate to each other. And don't think for a minute that they value you. Because if you don't stand up for your own, they know the fuck you ain't going to stand up for them. You become, they'll just throw you under the bus. So it's great to have positions, if that's what you want in life. But also it's okay to show some humanity about the whole thing. That life, the loss of life. I may not even really care for the person, but I wouldn't want nobody to get shot down like a dog. You can shoot a nigga in the ankle. You can shoot a nigga in the thumb or whatever. But what I know is, historically, the cops have not been getting shot down in the street like they shoot down other people. And I think that's the part where, and I'm like this. This is just me. I don't give a fuck about law. I don't give a fuck about none of that. I know some people have to go that route. That's beautiful. See, what I know about America and the way she rolls,
they don't follow no law. So you can't talk to me about laws?
Because that's we got to hang our hopes on something as a people. That's what I think. You got to hang your hopes on something. But my thing is that always cracks me up when we want to be the law-abiding citizens when nobody else is following this shit.
Nobody. We the only Negroes that's following the script, and everyone else is off the rip.
Brother Rashid just chimed in. Please look at some of these comments, Rashid. I seen him yesterday at Bookends with Daryl Roberts, and we're talking about partly about the Stephon Clark case in terms of, but we're also, I'm going to say this, Barry, I do think it's helpful and healthy for you and Steve to be going through this because we is crazy out of our mind if we think all black people feel the same thing, and that's been part of our problem.
No, but
even though y'all can have different opinions,
I mean, we can have different opinions, but I know what's real and I know what's right and I know how it operates. Because when you look at Mr. 45's situation, aka the pussy grabber,
his people backing his ass.
I love him. Yeah. I love him in a sense that he's told us exactly what it is. That's what I love.
What the fuck he did, too.
I'm not mad at the regime of 45. Because does it really affect black people? No. Because with Biden, with Clinton, with whoever, it's going to be the same thing. Because shit, we the same Negroes that said Bill Clinton was the first black president before it was Obama. Now, my attitude is more or less like, we can't keep on relying on them and people in that system to create these levels of change, because it's never going to happen. I know one thing, that those folks don't play by the rules, but we continue to play by rules that they created. And the game that they put on us is whenever we get close, they change it. So you can't sit there and say, change the laws, when niggas is too afraid to change just certain policies and procedures, and niggas who are in there to change it don't want to do it because the system as it goes benefits them. So that's just the reality of it.
Don't talk about that, Barry.
I mean, it does.
Because, you know, we need this. So here's the catch-22. We're not in a time where black folks were able to govern themselves. We did live in periods where people governed themselves. You feel me?
Hold on.
It don't feel like we live in a period. Go ahead.
We want a lawless society. Nigga, we want a fair society. What you talking about? Every society is going to have some kind of lawlessness regardless. But when it is a one-sided situation.
I love this, though.
I'm just saying, if it's a one-sided situation, then what ends up happening is more black people get killed than anybody else. Because what the society looks upon us as, we're the rag dolls. When we created society, first of all, we civilized civilization, and then for the free labor, we built this fucking country, and people act as if our ancestors never did that. It was like, you know, we did y'all a favor? Like, no, what favor did you do? Oh, really? I mean, that's kind of like the attitude, and we keep on talking about these laws. See, Street is the same brother, and I love my OG, but he's the same brother that will say, our forefathers. I will be the same. I will be the different brother that will say the rapists, the murderers, and the killers. That's the difference.
Oh,
you're
talking about the forefathers of the
No, that's saying like that.
Gotcha.
He's the kind of nigga that will say our forefathers. I'm the kind of nigga that'll say no, the rapists, the murderers, the pedophiles, and the enslavers.
Right on.
That's the difference between it. Now, some can argue the fact of what it is, but the reality is why we are such in our position is because niggas remain docile.
So he's saying, what's the solution?
The fucking solution is fire, Negroes. What you mean? Just like what Dallas did. The woman, okay, this is the thing about policing.
Talk straight to the camera, because I've made it be straight to you. Barry.
It's good. Let's get it in. This is the thing about what the world is. It's about you pay for mistakes.
Right on.
If I worked for a quote-unquote job, I could have made a mistake that wasn't lethal. I would have made that mistake by giving the wrong medication to a client. That right there, a simple mistake. Been there for 7 years. Don't know what happened. Just kind of messed that up. I would be automatically what?
Fired.
All right? Mistakes get you fired, right? These are consequences. What ends up happening with police officers, whether they do it in a direct way or they do it in a moment of just insecurity and fear, when they make mistakes, they are not fired. They are more or less the victim than the person that they victimized. And they're given a pat on the back and life moves on. Where everybody else is held accountable for mistakes, right? We're not talking about blatant actions. We're talking about mistakes. I mistakenly did this. I mistakenly did that. I could be fired or I could be held accountable. How many mistakes did I make in my family and I got my ass kicked? There was no question. Nigga, you made a mistake and guess what? Here's some lashes to the back. So, you know, we keep on talking about what the solution is. Negro, solution is fire individuals on police forces that make these great mistakes. Start putting standard drug testing for any lethal or non-lethal confrontation. Like, I want to know what was in these police systems. Because as soon as I drive and I may swerve, you pulling me over. I'm taking a drug test. I'm taking a breathalyzer. We need to have, if we're going to change some things, let's enforce that. Let's find out. Because then, guess what? Oh, shit, you was high? Oh, man, I just hit a joint. Well, you can't be high during police hours. You can't be drunk during police hours. Oh, okay. Because I want to believe that these motherfuckers aren't just clear-minded, just going at people. I don't want to believe that.
So he said, according to California law, no mistake was made. And this is because the shooter was a black cop. The chief, Daryl Hahn, is a black man. Is that why we can't be balanced and fair and have value on just black life?
No, we can't. Niggas is in love with each other. That's what it is.
Wow, that was a heated bunch of exchange.
Nah, it's not a heated. I mean, I love
No, it's great. No, it's great because I think though, Barry, that's a part of the conversation that as black people we don't have.
And we don't have it. These niggas are scared to have it.
We don't.
I'm okay with all of it. It's just simple things, dog. Like there's a lot of decisions I could have made in my life that could have turned the other way and did different.
And
but there's also
also say with law. I just know that in slavery was the law. And
yes.
if Harriet Tubman had believed that bullshit,
exactly,
we'd be
still enslaved, right? I mean, there's a whole bunch of laws that we break every day, like, you know what I'm saying, and that they break. Do police officers get a ticket when they're on the cell phone driving?
Where's Jimmy Justice when you need him? Go ahead.
I'm just saying, though, Jimmy Justice ain't there.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden and that's what I'm saying. Listen, Negro, it's not you as a person, it's the position that you hold. So if you're in a position, it's a police chief, then you become Daniel Hunt. I'm not talking to Daniel Hunt on a personal level, but I'm talking to you as the police chief. Now, if you feel it's personal, then I guess you're going to take it personal. But I am speaking for people that rather not speak or too afraid to speak, because I am just talking about where are we at in the levels of humanity where we don't believe that what just happened is not lawful.
Is it possible to sidestep the police as black folks?
Well, shoot, every time I do, you know what I've been happy with?
I'm just curious.
Every time I've done a big event with the big block parties and communities that said I shouldn't have went, just the Black Food Festival with me and my team, the Black Friday Coalition, we just put together. No police. No police. No police. We don't. I don't even make the phone call. Hey, I say, people, if we're gonna do it together, let's do it together. Might hire some security that are black, but I'm not doing the police thing. I'm not setting my kids up. I'm not setting my community up. I don't feel comfortable with them, even though I do have some relationships that are pretty well with some police officers. I'm not denying that. And to be honest with you, I really don't have a gripe on a personal level with Officer Hunt. I just have the gripe with the fact that he is the police chief now, and what was told to us, we're going to see something different. I ain't seen nothing different.
Okay.
I ain't seen nothing different. So I should be able to have the right to stand on that. Because in order for things to change, people have to see a true warrior unapologetically making a stance. Not by, okay, with the legal process. Well, then deal with the legal process. You know what? Go ahead and let the police SAC PD get sued for unlawful termination, right? But stand on something that people can believe, like, all right, you're not a part of them. Because when those dudes got vindicated, I guarantee you some officers was looking like, you're one of us. Giving pounds, high fives, all type of shit. Sending cards and all, taking them out to dinner. And some of the Negroes, some of the Negroes are active participants and complicit by standing. Because I've been on stages with Daniel and I've challenged all the way. I make Negroes uncomfortable. Because we're going to have the conversation. I'm going to have the conversation. I was sitting there, I remember like a few years back before this whole thing even happened. When we having the conversation with me, Steve Hansen, and some other folks, and with me and Daniel again. We don't have a bad relationship. I don't hate the dude at all. Just to preference it. We're good, right? No, before all this done let up, I'm hitting it up, he hitting me up. Bam. I could easily do the simple docile Negro shit like most of these Negroes do and just keep business moving like a regular scheduled program. But I was sitting there giving real structure to what policing is while he was trying to sugarcoat. I said, man, it is what it is. I mean, the origin of police is A, B, and C, slave catchers. But nobody wanted to hear that shit. And people were like, oh, shit. But that's the kind of shit that we got to do. And it's not out of malice like me and Steve going to this nice back and forth. It ain't no hate. It's just a reality versus whatever fictional things that he has in his mind.
Okay, so with that being said, hold on. With that being said, so you mean to tell me, and I want y'all to roll with me for a minute. I love good conversation. I come from the era where we did a lot of conversations and work too, but conversations. That's how you get to think things through.
Negroes is scared of everything. The fuck out of here. What you mean? Negroes is scared of everything.
I can't with y'all.
Stop it.
Steve, I wish I could like Skype your ass in
Come
here.
on,
Look.
Negroes is scared of everything.
But I think you mean to tell me somebody black could be a police officer, a judge, whatever. So that means that they have joined another system and not a part of the black system? Or is it possible to be a cop and still be down for your people?
Yeah, but they don't.
Okay.
I'm black.
Okay.
That's
I'm
black.
That's
you know
undeniable.
I'm a look out for my black sister, right? I'm gonna look out for my black brother. You know what I'm talking about? You know, I ain't gonna specify what that means, but you gonna know what it means because I'm gonna look out for my people just like I'm going to hire a black person before I hire anybody else. That's me. Even if you can't do the job better than that person, I'm gonna give you the opportunity. I'm gonna at least try. And I'm gonna be like, all right, let's see if it makes it work. I'm too black to a fault. Because there's too many black groups. There's too many. We're split. Negroes in the church. We got Negroes in politics. Bourgeois Negroes. We got conscious Negroes. We got Hotep ass Negroes, because that's a whole different kind of conscious Negro. We got Israelite Negroes, because that's a whole different type of religious Negro. You know what I'm saying?
Shit.
We got the fraternity Negroes. You know what I'm saying?
Negro roll call.
Yeah, exactly.
Negro roll call.
We got too many. Then we got the ghetto fabulous Negroes, the gangster Negroes, and I really, to be honest with you,
Negroes
and we
too.
definitely got the scary ass, silly ass Negroes, straight up. And I really don't fit in any of these categories like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right
so
on.
I try to move and navigate, but because I don't really fit in any of these categories, I'm an outliner. You're an outliner. You know what I'm saying? Though we are very consciously focused.
That's why you got to be hooking up with other communities outside of your own environment to keep your ass alive.
But as much as I can, as much as I can hang with Negroes in the hood and have good dialogue, as much as I can hang out with the bourgeois and have good dialogue, I'm not a part of their actual culture.
Right on.
Policing in America is culture. It is actual group. It's an actual gang. It's this is a fraternity. And when you have our group spread out so thin and everybody wants to be in their one group and not really chime in on anything, and just kind of, like when we talk about the support black businesses, that shit is corny in a way that, I'm going to just keep on doing it. I don't do corny shit, but it is corny if you really think about it. Why are we the only group that got to say that? Why are we the only group that got to say support black businesses? Why do we have to say that? That should be a matter of fact. No other group, I ain't never heard no Latino say support Latino businesses. And if they did it and if they would say it, they would say it just to do it because they're making fun of us.
They're talking Spanish and they know what the fuck they're talking about.
Oh, I'm saying,
Hey, look, Steve, thank you for all your comments. I just feel like that's what we need to hear about. I mean, I think we need to have that dialogue. But I also think if black people, when you feel like you're under attack, you usually try to police yourself. That's all I'm saying. I think that's what we
Or if you feel like you want an attack, you attack those who are attacking you.
Well, that's true.
We ain't gonna talk about that.
Yeah. No, but you're right. I'm just saying that I think that's what's missing in terms of the black world.
Instead of everybody, you see this shirt I got right here? What does it say?
Too many. What does it say? Too many chiefs. Sorry.
And that's exactly what happened.
Right on.
In the terms of, making the point on with Stephon Clark to end that whole piece is that in a round where it was time, there was too many chiefs. There was not enough other individuals just playing the course, playing their position, utilizing leverage. Everybody was trying to do side deals and not focus on the agenda that was first started. And we had Sacramento uncomfortable as shit.
But I have to be honest with you, Barry. Just roll me for just a minute.
Always.
But I also felt like Stephon Clark's murder or shooting, or however we gonna label this, it's kind of like being Negro, colored, black, whatever the hell we gonna name it. It was a big payday for this city.
In what way?
It was a payday. Like his children would have some money to start their life out with, $2.4 million. More than what they would have had. It had been a different kind of, if that black man who shot him was just a regular Negro, he would have got shit. We had people who got side deals along the way. People were able to retire from their jobs and be a full-time activist. You know, we was able to give money to people to do other things with the Kings. I mean, because the Kings had to come on board because of the pressure that was applied by the community beyond the Stephon Clark shooting. Let's be honest. You know, or just different people who was able to get different deals. You know, and I think a lot of us got a chance to go to meetings and sit with important people. You know, some people got to come out of being like, you know, didn't know who the person was. They showed up in Sacramento, and then they started their own goddamn nonprofit when they used to work for Al Sharpton. I mean, it's just like all kind of shit. Let's be honest. This young man's life, we don't know what it was before he got shot, but I can rest assured to tell you, after he has been murdered, he gave life to a whole city.
Yeah, well, I mean, he got some mural. He got about to have a
I'm just going to be honest. I'm just, you know. But
I also think that it's made a lot of unimportant people important.
That's my point, though. And my thing is, the sad part is when our kids look up people who we name things after and see that they got life after their death. It's kind of like John. It's just kind of like Gady. I went to Gady. I had no idea who Charles Gady was. That's now it's called Rosa Parks. Then this man was a geneticist. If nobody had never researched who Charles Gady was, he got Gady building. He got buildings at universities. I mean, this man was a geneticist and who hated fucking black people. But hell, shit is named after him. Charles Gady. I went to Gady Middle School here in Sacramento.
Didn't they change this school
They
name?
changed it to Rosa Parks because a kid did research. See, it says something about us and how
I think
I'm
actually they're doing a short film about that.
Yeah, that's deep though, because I went there. I know a lot of people went to Gady. But people who we think are great, when you start doing the background, that's when the shit gonna get sketchy, and you ain't gonna be able to tell kids shit about doing the right thing. You know, we live in a time where even when, you know, I don't remember a time where cops were really your friends. I'm not trying to be funny. I mean, I had uncles with cops. They were cool. They walked the beat and shit like that. But they lived in a different time of integrity. But they also lived in a time where your ass can get popped, and you had a respect for your community because you could get fucked up. Like, just to be honest. So you didn't do crazy shit to your people. You just didn't. But we don't live in a time like that right now. We really don't. And so we live in a time of just wanting to be a part of a system so bad that we will shit on each other just to be included in the system. If I meet one more nigga to tell me they was the first person to do some shit, that shit is such a turn off. Tell me you was the first person to kick the door down and how many people came behind you in the fucking door. I would be impressed. But you being the first and only nigga to do some shit, I don't about to get fucked up.
And let me tell you something. If I hear one more nigga talking about laws and any kind of fucking shit, get out of it with that shit.
But that's all I'm saying. And so, I don't know, family. I think this may be open for a bigger conversation if you have enough courage to have this conversation. Because some of this shit, Barry, has to do with how we roll as a people. And we never like to talk about that shit. Because then we want to go to, it's a system. It's a nigga, you get up every morning and you do what the hell you want to do.
You can decide.
That's not a system. That's you having free will.
Yeah, you can decide.
So sometimes I feel like not all of us, and I get you, I'm big on that all word too, Barry, but some of us, which is enough of us, we be so busy about what's happening on reality shows, and you don't even know what's happening in your own goddamn reality.
Or you can be such a great party goer, vacationer, and
you know, we love to feel good.
And suck at being a parent. Like, none of your kids is graduating. But you out here and where? You out here living your best life.
Barry, look, Steve, thank you for that heated exchange. He said cops can also, it's a state law that cops can be on their cell phones while they drive. So if you hit me is because you was texting, I don't get to do shit. Is that the law too? That means I just have a fucked up car. We got to admit, America is in a broken state, has been. That is the beauty of 45. The beauty is that he like, I'm going to show y'all not only this shit is broken, but I'm going to help you break the shit down even more.
Yeah.
Because he exposes people who like to see. I always remember that it depends on the lens in which you're looking. If I'm a white male, I may be a little afraid right now because I ain't never not have this much freedom. Yeah. That's why Donald Trump is such a hero to certain people, because he gives some white people courage that they never had before. Yeah. You nigga. Like he gives them the courage to be back in the old days. Nigga, we would string you by a damn rope. He gives those people life. But the white people who have been benefiting but don't want to say shit, like say the Clintons, who put so many black men in prison under their reign. But you know, niggas love them because they do like nigga shit. You know, they smoke weed or they cheat on their wife or they play the saxophone. We love the Clintons. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We love our master. Yes, we do.
Let's not forget about Haiti and
Oh, damn. But see, that's where I see black folks is like, how you going to love them when you know they hate you in Haiti? Because we are still them. Yeah. We're all black folks. Yeah. But that's a whole, I forgot all about
Haiti. And that's another groupism. That's also about other groupisms. I forgot to say is, then you got Negroes that are from America, from Negroes to the Caribbean, and Negroes from our motherland, Africa. Yeah. And that's a whole other different kind of separation, right?
But that conversation's got to be had. Because let me tell you something. One of the things I'm noticing, because I'm in the from the continent of Africa community, they is building their communities far away from African American Negroes. Yeah. And I can't blame them. Because who wants to build shit with niggas who ain't accountable? Who wants to do that? How can me and you go on business together, Barry, and you do your part, but I'm not accountable? Oh, man, I was going to get... Dude, how is we building something if we can't be accountable? You can't call me on my shit because my feelings going to be hurt. Right. How can you build anything like that?
You're right.
That's why it's okay for you to call Chief Hahn on the shit. Do I have to be able... Because I bet you say this. If a white man had said that shit, you'd be like, well, let me think about that. Yeah. You'd have thought about the shit.
Thought about it, celebrated it, say, wow.
You'd have been like, well, wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
You don't talk that shit to white people. You think about your motherfucking pension and shit. You thinking about... Because I know niggas who work in the system like, I ain't want to say nothing. And it's like,
that happens all the time.
Because you don't want to fuck up your pension.
I mean, but then... It happens like that all the time, but then when a Negro does something, you the first one to go point the finger at the Negro and be like, boom, so-and-so did this, so-and-so did that. So
we're still on the plantation, Bear?
Oh, for sure.
I thought we was done with that. Nah, slavery was over. Nah. I thought slavery was a figment of our imagination.
There's a few things that will help us become free, and a few things that will help us become independent. And one of those things is, we have something that is really, we're definitely gonna get into the, because I want to make sure we get into the impeachment piece, but we talk about independence and free. Right. We have something that just happened that's major in California. It was a signing.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it up for you. Yeah, the signing of the bill by California Governor Gavin Newsom.
Yes. So what's it
called? And it allows. California governor signs bill on LeBron's HBO show allowing college athletes to get paid.
Yes.
Shit.
Yes. Like that right there. It's called the Fair Pay to Play Act. Right. And what this is allowing athletes to become their own entity, their own boss, to celebrate their likeness, to be able to make money off of the fruits of their labor. Now, here's what happens.
This ain't all.
This ain't all. This is California, right? So right now, this is why it's better to not all be under federal regulations. I would rather states have their own policies. If this don't want to be about Negroes, then we don't need to be in North Dakota. You know what I'm talking about? I'd rather have the line out than all the federal, because the federal shit, I think, everyone lining up to one thing, it doesn't make any sense, right? Now, California got this one thing right. They haven't got a lot of things right because the homelessness is out of control, the rent is out of control, but this is one thing that really is a catalyst for being the first help support their revenue and their value and get more of the major athletes now coming to them. Well, this new act is basically saying that college athletes, once upon a time, they are called the amateur athlete. Usually, athletes would get scholarships that would be paying for all of their school necessities. But as we all know, when you're doing and being a college athlete, you really are more focused on delivering the goods for whatever sport you play, whether it's freaking water polo, soccer, and of course the two big cash cows, the football and basketball. They were not able to get any bit of the income that was made off of their backs, off their likeness. So, Mama Roll, number 14, played for Syracuse. You was a national champion. You was a top 3 legend of that school. Negro, you went 3 years. You made money off the jerseys, and guess what? You get a goddamn nothing for your efforts or anything else.
That's deep.
That right there was slave plantation with benefits. And I say that because guess what? Slaves still ate, still had a place to sleep. Might not be the best place, might not be the greatest meal, but you still had somewhere to go. You were right there on the plantation. So call it what you want. I might be too harsh, but truly that's what it is. The NCAA has been one of the most corrupt nonprofit entities of all time. They have cashed in on backs of black athletes, white, Latino, whatever. They have cashed in with this one particular phrase. It is the amateur athlete. So being an amateur athlete, you would not be able to get money off of anything you do. So basically, if you signed an autograph for a kid and did not just give it to the kid and said, hey, let me get some money, you would be penalized. You would be disqualified. You would be no longer an amateur athlete. So you would have to wait for whatever they gave you, whether it's in scholarships, whether it's in some other feasible monies that the college would conjure up. A lot of boosters would kind of involve themselves into that situation. Hold on.
Oh, somebody, Anthony Johnson is telling about the NCAA.
You can read that right there.
Okay, yeah. He said thank you, Anthony. The NCAA is so bad. Up until 2012 or 14, they weren't allowed to give athletes bagels. What?
Yes.
But providing cream cheese for the bagel was a violation.
Yeah. That's how bad it was. So reality was you were a slave. And see, we had so much to pile on. Like we had the Amber case. We had the chief case, this situation with Stephon Clark. This is a whole thing to get on because it has so many parameters. And the thing about Gavin Newsom signing it, Newsom has become a very big maverick, and he's doing a lot of things that Brown would have not done. And I don't know if this is his kind of declaration of I'm going to be your next president someday, right?
Probably. He probably have a better chance than the motherfuckers we got running.
Yeah,
but go
right.
ahead.
But what it does is such a game changer. It flips up what we used to call amateur sports, and it really now creates the business component that they should be learning anyway for college athletes. So now they can get agents if they choose to, right? Now, instead of, as Anthony said, getting penalized for bagels and cream cheese,
God damn.
you now,
that's some cold shit.
As a star athlete, right, can be invited, because here's a major thing. There's trillions of dollars made in the NCAA tournament.
Right on.
There's trillions of dollars. I'm saying trillions. It's beyond billions now. I feel trillions of dollars now. But let's say annually there's billions of dollars. Trillions is probably, that's what's going on. But billions of dollars annually being made off of betting. Mind you,
that's deep.
This is sports that have amateur athletes that you can bet on. So, as an amateur athlete who cannot get no money after I scored 35, if someone's giving me a bag and say, man, throw this game, and that was happening quite often back in the days, point shaving, and it probably still does, would I say no? When I'm eating a couple noodles and hot dogs while everybody is at a Ruth Chris Steakhouse? The parameters that these guys had to move in were so disgusting and unlawful that they were being pimped. These athletes were the whole. And here's a kicker.
That's deep.
Let me get down even deeper, Queen. After, right, you've retired, you've had now a great career in the WNBA. Do you know 10 years later they could still have your likeness and still get paid
money
off your own jersey, and you would still not get a goddamn dime.
That's deep.
So they would own the rights of these amateur athletes, and their cliche was they're getting scholarships. Well, what about that good player that didn't get the scholarship, that parents is barely making it to pay for them to be in school, but is just as much a star as that kid? They would not be able to receive no monies. So these are the kind of things that convey to the mindset of not only Americans in America, but capitalism, where those can flourish out of capitalism if they got what the product everybody wants. And they have capitalized in capitalism, the NCAA, and it's now no longer going to be an okay thing here in California, the only state that does it. But when the change of the guard happens, when more of these athletes start coming to California schools, other states are going to have to pick it up. Right now, the NCAA is terrified by this level of independence. And I will say, one of the catalysts to help bring this through here in California is who?
Oh.
LeBron James.
Oh, yeah.
More than an athlete.
That's why people got to stop hating on his ass all the goddamn time.
LeBron James, this is a whole other conversation.
Yeah.
You guys can check out the conversation I'm going to be having with my brother Jermaine Morris on Say Something Podcast. We'll have our new episode coming up today or tomorrow. But LeBron James, remember, that's a power. That's levels of, if you're going to be the spook sitting by the door, if you're going to talk about sitting at the seat, he said like this. First, let's go strategic. LeBron James, the reason why a lot of this stuff really became to pass, one of his brothers that he came up with, that he made sure was going to be in the right frame, Rich Paul, has a sports agency. The NCAA put a rule out that sports agents without college education can't be sports agents. Because what the framework was, Rich Paul and Rich Paul, black agent, was kind of evaluating and empowering these athletes at a different level. So really what he was doing was taking black athletes away from the white agents.
Right on.
I mean, that's what it was. Let's call it plain. With the backlash that they got, the NCAA said, okay, you know, what was called the Rich Paul rule, they just basically said, no, we're changing. We didn't mean by that because it was a racist rule. Well, now all of a sudden, we have to have a degree to be a fucking agent? You shitting me? So,
that's deep.
As a catalyst to what was going on behind the scenes, to kind of really stick it to the NCAA so they can now more empower, build up, and brand this whole idea of independence, you know that they helped push whatever they had to make sure this law was changed, this rule was changed, and to have Gavin Newsom on his uninterrupted TV show in HBO signing the documentation let you know the power play, the chess moves that LeBron James is making.
Right on.
Because Maverick Carter, his other business partner, Rich Paul, his other business partner, they're all breaking it down as they had white and black women athletes, as well as shouts out to brother Ed O'Bannon. Ed O'Bannon from UCLA great. He's the one that really spawned this whole idea of athletes getting paid, because there's always been a controversy of athletes should get paid, right? But what happened was Ed O'Bannon, out of college at this time, now in the NBA, there was a game called the NCAA college basketball, right? And in this game, you could play Ed O'Bannon in his UCLA team. And this is years of him not being no longer in UCLA. He said, why am I not getting paid for this? You have my likeness. I have not given you permission to use my likeness. And you are making millions and millions of dollars off my likeness. I don't want it there. And that's what stopped the NCAA to have college and college and football games.
That's deep.
For the game consoles. That's why they're no longer there. So in that sense, as he was one of the people that were in the show that I think everybody should watch, what this creates is what we've been saying, is that independence. And if we're going to leverage our power, that's why I'm a LeBron James guy, because regardless of whatever you think, this was a power move that's going to help the athletes. Will some athletes fall and some athletes never make it to the promised land because they'll have so many endorsement deals in college and might not be able to focus? It will all happen. But I guarantee you they'll be better for athletes waiting for 4 years or 2 years to get out of college, to leave to help their families, compared to them doing things that will get them disqualified. Get what I'm saying? So there's going to be some athletes that might spike out during their college years, right? They may not be the superstars in the NBA, but now they'll be able to help support not only themselves, but their families if they're doing the work. I think it's a win-win.
I agree. I agree with you. And man, talk about that. I'm not trying to be funny, but here LeBron James, he putting in this work. I'm not trying to be funny on a whole nother level that we ain't even, people can't even understand this shit.
It's a very much a
level.
You know what I'm saying? And that's why I believe the attraction to what is happening with more than an athlete should resonate to watching when we look at a Jay-Z situation when he's saying we're past kneeling and you still see police killing us. And you look at a LeBron James situation, well, I'm going to move to LA and it ain't just going to be about me Hollywooding. I'm going to change procedures and laws. That's the kind of shit that I would like to see Jay-Z doing.
Imagine if we had more black athletes, though, doing that? Since we know we support black athletes, could you imagine what that would be like if more black athletes did even just a thumbnail?
Even if he had nothing to do, per se, with the change, what that looks like to have a governor that I had the privilege of meeting. Governor Newsom hasn't pissed me off just yet, so he's not on my hit list. Yeah, you know, better like the AB 392 signing. That he has leverage. Okay, come do the signing right here. I'm going to stick it to the NCAA. Remember, LeBron James never ever went to college play college basketball. At that particular time, he was so good. College basketball still allowed high school athletes to
the pros.
No, excuse me. NBA still allowed athletes to go to the pros. But because college basketball was kind of taking a downward spiral because the best athletes weren't going, they were kind of saying, I'm going to go take my talents over here to the NBA. They're like, we're going to make a rule. You have to come in. You got to be a freshman, blah, blah, blah. Then you can leave. You know what I'm saying? There has to be a mandated rule. And that was the NBA and college basketball getting together. But what now is a flip, it's like, okay, you're going to have to pay us now. Like, now, the NCAA in California right now, not everywhere, UCLA will get a star athlete, and now that star athlete that they're making money, they're gonna have to spread that. They're gonna have to spread that, get that spreadsheet out, and be like, okay, well, we made this amount of money for your jersey sales today.
At least what they're gonna show you.
I'm just saying.
I don't trust these motherfuckers at all. But that's as our time gets down. That's actually a really good one, Barry, and I'm glad we were able to talk about that. But I want to talk a little bit about our 45 in this impeachment hearing. Now, did you watch any of the hearings?
Pussy grabber!
Did you watch any of the hearings, Barry? I watched some of it. I was laughing my ass off because when your boy, see, that should be a training. You talked about snitches last week. That should be a training for people who believe in that, or how you ride with your dude when his ass is wrong. You feel me? That's a lesson. Yes. This man was like, how you going to be over national security, but you only concerned, let's just say, with the administrative part. So if some shit happened in the field, that ain't your shit, because you over here on administration. Just to watch how they were spinning this shit, I was like, this is a training manual.
And
this shit was hilarious.
Listen, he put up a picture on his Twitter with, because he's going to get impeached. Like,
I think they're going to try, but I also think Pence is next. And so we can have 4 more
Pence
years
is going
without
to.
Trump.
No, Pence is going to.
Pence is going to.
They're all going to be.
I think the Democrats is impeaching him because they can't beat him.
Listen, no, that's facts. Let's stop shitting on each other. That right there is actual
they can't fuck with this
facts.
man.
They cannot not. It is too risky. It's too risky for the Democratic Party. Because again, black folk, it don't matter who's president. Even though I stress us to vote, we still got to do the work. But it bestows me to believe that the Democrat Party can take another 4 years of this.
We can't
they
take
won't even have a
Democratic party either. I'm sorry. We can't even fuck with the Democrat.
No, we shouldn't fuck with anyone.
I'm not, look, look, it don't even matter who the president. We still got to survive as a people. But let me just say this: I feel like there's more liberation for black people under Donald Trump than it could be anybody else we pick, because we know this man is our arch enemy. Niggas
do we really know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Do niggas really know that?
Oh yeah. Because
that.
let me tell you why. And then if they don't know, they definitely smell it in the air. Let me tell you, what I love about this man is that even when you act like you his friend, he will still shit on you as a black person. And I love it, because it lets the Negroes know who think they in position that you really still just a nigga. Don't get it twisted. This man that you know, I still don't like your ass. I don't like your monkey ass. This man is so clear. You know, you can't get no more clear. They're not Clintons where they go like, I'm going to invite you over for dinner and then help, you know, you're going to help me fuck the rest of y'all up. Yeah. He like, I don't like you motherfuckers, period. Pat.
I don't think so. I really don't think niggas see here that time. I don't think niggas really.
Some of them don't, but they notice they had the stench. Some more of them are scared than we are.
I don't know. You listen to Candace Owens. I think she's like one of the.
Well, at least you know what. But I also think, I got to be honest. I like Candace Owens. I think we need Candace Owens' voices there. I do. Because she say some of the same shit Farrakhan say, and don't nobody fucking boo his ass. No. So you know, I just feel like
don't fuck with Farrakhan either.
Yeah,
now, what are you talking about?
I think that we need the diverse voices, Barry.
Farrakhan got banned on Facebook. Niggas was
you always in Facebook jail.
Yeah, exactly. Now I'm about to be on Facebook jail in the next few days because I'm about to go lean all the way in.
Oh,
like I said, got 2019. 2019 will be my time of going in with my white folk.
They gonna if you go in on black folks, they gonna support it. Because I secretly believe white folks feel like, you know, some of them feel like, what do we do with these Negroes? Yeah. We gave them affirmative action. Yeah. Then we tried to kill them with crack.
Because
we don't know. These motherfuckers is like roaches. We can't even kill these
Listen, Queen. October, November, December, and on the 4th month, January, we're going to be singing I Got a Dream Again. I have a dream.
I have a dream.
I'm just saying. Here we go.
I didn't care.
It's like a recycling current. Yeah. We can't talk about it. I'm gonna talk about the nightmare.
I think that's the overall crack that black folks is on. I think I can deal with the person who was on crack and now they off. But people who are this other kind of drug, it's hard. It's like The Walking Dead.
It's definitely The Walking
Yeah,
Dead.
you be like,
So the reality, and if to bring folks up to speed, basically the president. Our president, you don't have to sit there and agree, but he's our president.
He's the man right now.
He was a mob boss as he's been working and conducting his business. He was just mobbish with the Ukraine president. I'm hearing also with the Australian president, and some of his people were on these calls. A whistleblower basically said, "Hey, here's what's popping off." They had to kind of show.
I think he gonna get off.
I don't think so. I don't know. I know so.
People said he wasn't going to be president, and I said he was going to be president.
Here was the thing. With the Mueller case that had all the evidence to strike him, that's why he had William Barr, who basically Mueller. Again, this is like we talked about Howard Chayne said, okay, you're the chief of police. Do what you got to do. You got the power. William Barr never executed what was supposed to happen with the Mueller case. And so in that sense, he had his right hand right there to kind of navigate him away from that. Now, what you have is phone conversations in a current day of him asking for dirt on Joe Biden. And that is in the bylaws of presidency illegal. And it's terrifying as mass, where there was a picture on his Twitter that has all the United States on there and says, all of the states red on all the states he won or whatever like that that supports him, whatever. And he says, how are you going to impeach this? And he's referring to his impeachment, which I believe is closer to be able to be a reality. I don't think that if it was, it would be something that he would even discuss, that if there was an impeachment, it would be a civil war. My question to you, do you think if they were able to impeach Mr. 45, aka the pussy grabber, Mr. Orange, would there be a civil war?
No. So let me tell you why, Barry. First of all, this is America. And America has this way, Barry, of upholding all of her wrongs so that she would be right. And I think it's very silly of us as black people, the descendants of enslaved people in these Americas, to really believe that they would tear down their very institution that supports them. And I know that's a hard sell.
Yeah.
The Democrats are outdated. Biden should have ran last year.
Yeah.
Want to. I mean, the last cycle, sorry. Nobody's voting for a bunch of mulattoes who don't like black people, no way. Elizabeth Warren would be a good president, but they definitely not going to, I think she would give Donald Trump more of a go than the rest of them.
I think so.
My personal opinion. But what I know about America, Barry, is that we be thinking this is the right thing to do. Just like talk about the case. It would have been the right thing to do to fire this person. But to save your face, you will go down with the enemy.
Wow.
Now that's America. And I'm not trying to be funny. I mean, we joked about Donald Trump running in the first place. I mean, people did.
He joked.
He think he on the apprentice. I think he was fucking around until he decided. I think I think I can do this.
No, I think what happened was he started realizing that we now live in a different world where reality TV stars are stars, where Instagram models are actual models, and that folks really believe the hype, and everyone is an outliner. So at the end of the day, it was like, wait a minute, y'all buying the hype? So he bought the hype machine, and I think that when he passed a few different, because remember, he tried to become president before, and to me, it was more of a place where he would have probably made a good president because we didn't know who Donald Trump really was at that time, right? We just know that he was a moneymaker, allegedly. Now, I think that he went into this as a game, as a joke, fun thing.
I think he was in it with the Clintons, but that's just my personal
opinion. Yeah. I believe that too. And
a white man told me this, y'all. He explained the whole thing. And I said,
and he was with it.
I could deal with the truth.
And then he was with the Clintons on a lot of levels.
Yes, but he
and then all of a sudden,
when
it got serious, like
he was like, "I'm a player." First of all, he's a player.
He was like, "I was gonna hype it up."
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it was like him and Hillary was like having a conversation, and he was just like, "Shit, I don't know. I don't think I might want to be the president now." She's like, "Whoa, motherfucker! Like this wasn't supposed to happen."
First Obama, and now you.
Exactly.
The tears again.
Exactly, white tears.
Again. But she should have just let the other one down. I don't know about him.
So I definitely agree totally with that, and I believe that he walked in it with this is just gonna be a little bit more of
this is America.
Yeah, this is America, right?
This is America.
He was going to be more for the advertisement person and building his brand, but then he fucked around and became the president.
Well, that's Larry. This is what I think. I think that black folks, buckle up your seats. We're going to have to get back the garden in our backyard. We're going to have to get back with each other, Barry. That's the purpose of having 45. Yeah. He's your liberator. Yep. He didn't come like lifting you up. He came like, bitch, get yourself up. Yeah. So, I mean, look, you can look at the glass as half empty or half full. I'm just saying, America has too much invested in herself to look like a fool before the whole world for real.
They don't want Hong Kong to happen over here. And they won't let Hong Kong happen over here. Because right now, Hong Kong has civil unrest. It's not going to happen.
We're not like them because, see, we're not like the rest of the world, Barry.
I'm saying.
Like right now, we should be in the streets. We ain't in the streets yet, is we?
No, we don't.
You give us let us be in the street for 5 days. Winter coming, we ain't going to be out there. And let it be a holiday. Every time we go to war, it's usually on Dr. King's birthday because we be over here singing Happy Birthday, and they be bombing somebody because that's historically what they've always done.
Well, wouldn't it would be great if we didn't celebrate Martin Luther King's birthday and celebrate that?
It would be great. It would be great if we did some work on that goddamn day. Damn, we so bombers how to do that.
I think that we celebrate it, and that's giving white folks a day off to celebrate it with us. Like we've all come so far.
I don't know no place where your former slave owner can really see its former slaves' children as their equal. Barry, the shit ain't never gonna happen. Yeah. I'm sorry. I know this is crushing some of y'all motherfucking dreams, but I'm a realist, and that's never gonna happen without some real foot and ass stuff. Let's just be honest. And I know I'm Mama Rowe and I'm college, but I'm a realist. You know what I mean? You just don't get to be a realist without really understanding some shit. Yes, you know it's a different day when white people will ride harder for you than black folks will ride for you. You know it's a different day when we debated this morning for a goddamn hour, probably and a half, a black cop shooting a black young man and then a black police chief and then a retired law enforcement black man and all these motherfuckers is on different sides. Then you know that's a different day. Yeah. No white person in that equation, by the way. These are all black men we talked about this morning. I mean, in terms of this case.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a different day.
Yeah.
It's a different day, Barry, and it's so not as cut and dry. I think that's our problem as black people. It's not black and white anymore.
No.
It's all of these Negroes in between.
Yes.
Silly, you the Negro,
silly ass
Negro roll call.
Yeah,
I mean, you know what that is.
Yeah, all the different groups that we all selected in.
And I know it's a scary time. I know y'all scared to death. Lord. But be scared enough to get your ass up and fight. That's all I care. Yeah. I don't care how scared you is. I hope that you are scared enough to come to the fight ready to rock it. Yes. Yeah. That's what I believe. Yeah. You know, but hey, that's a whole other story. Because, we be afraid. We're afraid of black capitalism. We're afraid of that shit.
Yeah, speaking of black capitalism.
I should have took a picture of that.
Take that picture. Yeah. Talk about that. Black capitalism. I had the honor to be in Sacramento News and Review. And Sacramento News and Review.
Get on that.
Y'all get on to that issue. Sacramento, the best of Sacramento News and Review 2019. I've been in here a few times, with activism and things of that nature. The rebel with a pause or cause or something like, I don't know what that is, but some award I did it, But again, supporting the black businesses and putting a light on what black folks have to do. And you'll pick up your issue. The issue is out. You know what I mean? I'm in 12 and 13, and
so that just came out.
That just came out. I'm gonna go get a frame. It was actually a real good article. Real good article. You know what I'm saying? Definitely good article. And I'm gonna always embody the truth, or the more truth that you can handle, and the blackness that I have to kind of put out there. I mean, a lot. We see it scary. But I mean,
scaring Negroes right now.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it. I scare Negroes more than I scare white people. Because Negroes is going to figure out a way not to listen. He's going to make us work, Lord Jesus. Yeah, Negroes going to figure a way not to listen, to be comfortable. So that my whole thing is it's always an honor to be able to be highlighted, but also an honor to be a voice box for my people. Because I never come with individual content. I come with an us, we need to, even though I don't like using the we at times, but I always kind of build into that us. And so a lot of folks are in this that I've shot out as far as building and branding black businesses, and it has to be something that we put in our forefront, because the order for us to really change things that are happening, we have to be able to have power base and be able to, that's your copy.
This is it.
You know what I'm saying?
This is it, fam.
We have to be able to construct these organizations to be organized and not service our way out of poverty, because there's no such thing as that. You can't service your way out of poverty.
Help me out. Service our way out of poverty.
Service our way out of poverty. I was, my OG, Chet Hewitt, that's all he always tells us. We can no longer service our way out of poverty. And that's just the truest form. I mean, how can you service your way out of poverty? How can we keep on doing service value things? And at the end of the day, the beautiful thing about what some of our services provide, it provides job opportunity.
Right on.
How many times have you said, we're looking for an intern? How many times have you heard me say, hiring some people? So it's not only service value, but when they get into a time to where now it could be, all right, here's your income to value your service. Right, we're helping support a part of the chain, right? We're helping support a young person or even a grown-up to do something where if we can't do that in a community, our community is going to keep on looking at the people that are providing the jobs, providing the service. Not only they're providing the service, they're providing the jobs, they're providing the shelter, they're providing the food. Come on now. We have to be able to do that for ourselves. So black capitalism, we can have a longer conversation about it, but I don't think that it's a negative thing if done correctly.
Right on.
If done with intent. And if we want to fight gentrification, we have to be the ones gentrifying our communities and not doing it in a way where it takes away from our culture. It falls into European ideology, and that's just what I'm thinking.
So let me ask you this. What made you do this article? Allow me to just interview just a little bit. What made you do this article?
They called me and they said they wanted to talk about black businesses, the lack thereof, and try to highlight and put some more emphasis on what's going on here at Florence. And that's the part of me being very public in my approach. It hasn't just been activism about police brutality. It hasn't just been activism about community violence. It hasn't just been activism about what's going on with our school or the fight against racism. It's about building our economic base. So that's kind of a lot of what I stem from as I've created the value of entrepreneurship when I was a young dude hustling. You know what I'm saying? It was always entrepreneurship. And when I created my own nonprofit, it was in create the nonprofit to be able to now have that nonprofit be income that services me, so I don't have to go do what? Work for someone. And then how can I now leverage the nonprofit to create for-profit opportunities? And that's just kind of how I was able to level up. As you know, we just did the event, this past Sunday. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Oh, that was great. Dr. Renaud Kwashidi was here dropping those jewels.
Exactly. So it was like, okay, I had 4 sides of income coming in, where it was my thrift stores open, I had my pop-up, I had my Black Blueprints, as well as my Black Blueprints apparel, as well as my Black Blueprint event that we were there. Right. That's 4 sources of income working at the same damn time. Right. And that was able to at least pay in to at least by myself 5 or 6 people. But if you were open here at 2251 Florence Road, aka Florence Square, you got business because of what I brought in. So you got revenue for the event that I had. You got that for people coming in, looking around, saying, "Oh, I want to buy this, I want to buy that." So that's supporting our economic base. And if niggas ain't doing that shit like that, I don't want to hear them talk too much about that. That's better than changing a fucking law. That's better than begging. That's better than hoping and praying and wishing on a dream or a shadow of a doubt that someone's going to do the right thing. It is taking power unapologetically, building our own without asking anybody's permission. So that's just kind of like our level up.
Right on. Well, y'all, please pick up. This is in the News and Review.
Yep.
News and Review, y'all pick it up.
It's a very great.
It's a good length on it too.
Yeah.
And I think we just got.
Shouts out for Chris Hooks for putting it together too.
We need to support the audacity of Black capitalism. I love that. Yeah. I love that. I love
the audacity. And that speaks so much in volumes of what we are trying to. Yeah, like how dare you, right? And in a sense of, I think capitalism gets such a bad rap, and as well as it should, because we've seen what it does look like on a negative side, but on truly, if it could be the benefit of Black people, because it has, but we just haven't taken advantage of it, we could get so much done without begging, without borrowing, without crying a river, doing it our goddamn self.
You said without crying a river. Cry me a river, river. You know, we love that. All right, Barry. Whew, we done covered anything else?
Oh, we done.
We got like 5 minutes left.
No, we done slipped in. We done came in. We done hit that. You know what I mean? Shouts out to everybody in Black Blueprints that came to the show. Thank you, Queen. For, of course, I was hoping that you was going to do Libation, but you weren't.
You should have told me, Barry,
I just assumed that you was going to be there, because I was like, you was doing Sitting with Sisters, and then something.
I had other stuff going on.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm not trying to be funny, but you know how.
But you came.
I was going to slide through anyway, because we got to support each other for real.
And that's what I always appreciate.
Not just talk about it, but shit be about it.
Yeah, the fact that it was supported by so many people. The staff worked hard. You know what I'm saying? We had MJ that she was doing a lot of behind the scene work, because the folks don't really understand having critical people behind the scenes to do that back end work is like 100% important. So she was really conducting a lot of the behind the scenes, that I could continue to handle my front end of getting everything into action. Dana Maisha, of course, came in. And sisters always supporting her brother. Making sure that, and so her and MJ connected to be able to do what they needed to do inside. Of course, my daughter always holds her father down, and that's the thing that you know what I'm saying. That's the shit that makes me so proud, because I've been able to have the ability to create, to be able to make sure she's earning.
Right on.
And she's watched her dad become successful, because she was there in the very, very beginning. So the fruits of my labor, she's looking like, my dad's like the guy. So let me tell you something. You niggas who come after my daughter, it ain't gonna be easy. You feel me?
Hey.
I'm not making it easy for Negro.
But it shouldn't be. Shit.
I'm just saying though. Like, my daughter is gonna have her idea on, like, okay, let me see what you coming with, bro. I ain't say you gotta be a perfect, because my dad ain't that. But nigga, you better try to hit some plateaus. Shit, this shit ain't working. You feel me?
Any events coming up, man?
You know what? We have the November 29th and November 30th, Black Friday Coalition presents again our 3rd annual Black Friday, Shop Black Friday Sacramento. That's going to go crazy.
Right on.
I think that I'm going to relax for a second. I feel like I deserve it. You know what I mean?
No, you can't relax.
Yeah,
back.
right. You know what I'm saying? The last event was just a lot going on. It was very stressful because niggas do a lot of last minute shit. Do you know how many people did not show up that bought tickets? I'm not mad at them. At least like 20 people bought tickets and didn't show up.
They could have gave those tickets to somebody else.
Exactly though, right? And shouts out to Kathy, one of the queens. She bought like 2 tickets. I was like, yo, B, give it to him, and I did do that. You know, it's just fortunate. One thing that I will say was the only disappointment, because brother, you know, knocked it out the ballpark, was we didn't have more young people there.
I think we have to challenge older people that when you go to something like that, bring a young person.
Yeah.
I don't give a damn if your nephew. See, back in the day, and even maybe still now, I don't know how it is now, but if you spent the night at somebody's house on Sunday, you was going to church with them.
Exactly.
Straight
or you
up.
do whatever they're doing, you're doing.
Yeah. So you don't be like, I don't want to do that.
There's
Well,
no
you're going
choice.
anyway. And we got to bring that back, y'all. That's why our kids can't
They're
really
falling.
follow us because they don't understand instruction.
The information that he had was so lengthy, but so accurate, and was given in a way to where, damn, I thought I was talking to my grandpa or my uncle.
Right
it wasn't to this way where I couldn't follow it. I could follow it and I could trace it. And I think kids need to know that, because I think we do our kids a disservice when we allow them to go into a world not knowing who they really are and someone telling them who they are. And then we expect our kids to be something different.
We be comparing them to other kids who know they shit. So that's a whole other story. All right, Barry,
All
y'all.
right.
We'll be back next week.
Next week, we'll be on time.
Yeah.
8:30.
Peace.
Peace.